So I'll start with the individual level. And this, I'm quoting Lisa Wool, the former CEO of USIF. We too often forget that we are citizens. I mean, we're not just ESG and sustainability professionals, and we should be writing to our congressmen, to our senators, to our governors. We need to be. It doesn't take long. You can do it by email, but very often we forget that as the electorate, that is who we are. We should, as individuals, be writing to our representatives, and whether it's for issues at the federal level or state level, and especially if you live in Texas, Florida, West Virginia, Utah, et cetera, of all places, you should be writing to your representatives. And so, and there's templates out there, there's language that USIF and other players can give you, but I think that's really, really important. The other piece is just as a community, and so this is where I don't want to be naive about the shortcomings of our own sector. We need to do a better job of coalescing and of collaborating. And I am brokenhearted sometimes when I see the balkanization of our sector, when I see that we're not able to speak in one voice. When you look at what happened in this last year, I was thinking, maybe we should all the networks should come together and anoint 2 or 3 speakers, put money together and hire a PR firm, and, have more, and it's been done. We have donors with the Tipping Point Fund, the work that Fran Siegel is doing, backed by foundations to help respond, including the Ford Foundation and Margot Brandenburg, to respond. And that's awesome. But it's only one piece. And I realize it's hard to coalesce Ceres and USIF and GIN and Tonic and all the networks together. But I think we have to think that big. We really have to come to a place where there's a uniform approach to really responding to the sector, and that we all speak the same language when we're answering the press, when we're being interviewed, et cetera. And I'll give you an example as to why that matters. When ESG was under attack, a lot of us wrote blogs. I wrote a blog, Erica Karp, Pastone wrote a great blog. People gave their opinion, et cetera. And as I was reading them, I thought, wow, we're disjointed. I mean, this is, the example I often use is the Tower of Babel. We're all speaking a different language, and we reached, for the skies. And some were saying, well, ESG is not progressive. It's just a methodology. It's not an ideology. Is that true? Not totally. So there is an ideology. It's hard to be an ESG investor who's a climate denier. On social issues, that's not true. I have met ESG investors who are pro-life, and you have to respect people's opinions, and if that's how they wish to invest their assets, et cetera, but not impose it upon me or others, I can respect that. But it is an ideology. It's not entirely a methodology in a way of analysis. So my point is, I would encourage our listeners and attendees to try to join networks so that our actions and responses are coordinated. So whether it's the, connecting with the Impact America Alliance, becoming a member of USIF, becoming a member of Ceres, we still have ways to go for all of these different networks to come together, but the leaders are very willing. Dana at Confluence is an organizer and a trailblazer. Same thing with Fran Siegel. I'm very excited, and this has been publicly announced. We have the new CEO at USIF, Maria Latine, who's coming in May. It was hard at USIF to be in a year of transition where, Lisa Wool did a phenomenal job during 16 years, but it was in a period of transition to have her be on the offensive on the Hill, in defense of ESG, and she and Brian McGinnon did a phenomenal job. But we now have a leader who is going to be taking the reins, and this will be a priority. So I would say join the communities, join the coalitions as much as possible. And then the other piece is, and I know this is a little out of people's comfort zone. I mean, you can write to your congressmen and congresswomen, et cetera. But also when you see an editorial or you see an art, and I'm starting to do this, it's a little time consuming, but honestly, I think it's important. Push back against the journalist. If you see something that's false, whether it's the New York Times or, you know, as I was saying this, I was reading the Salt Lake City Gazette, write to the journalists. They need information because the press really matters as well. And it's not, when I read the press and I realize, oh, this is sloppy work, or this is incorrect, this is like, or blanketly false, etc. I realized it's not that the journalist has an ill intent. It's also the business of the press, the speed at which they have to produce a piece by the end of the day to go to their editor, et cetera, and that they may not have the leads or the connections to have that kind of the right intel or the, you know, the history, the context, et cetera. So offer up, and why not? Just I do that all the time. I'm happy to talk with you if you wish. Or you point them to series or to USIF. I mean, because USIF talks a lot to journalists and educates them, but no single organization has the capacity to educate all the journalists that are trying to cover this beat. And thankfully, it's a beat. It used to be, you know, a below the fold issue that was obscure. But I think, especially I'm seeing, you know, with this expertise in the attendee list, reach out to journalists, offer yourself up as a reference, as a source, as an opinion, and I think that really can help. But start. I think the low hanging fruit is we are the electorate. Let's write to our representatives.